Once again, severe weather season continues to rear its ugly head in this portion of the year. We have our second severe weather season that's causing more instances of tornadoes that could potentially be strong damaging winds and upwards of hurricane force, as well as some large hail and upwards of 1.5 to even 2 inches in diameter. Where could this all be, and when will this impact areas? Tune into the video. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy and Nate. We have a lot to talk about, so we are going to try and get through as much information as humanly possible, try and give you guys perspectives as to why these things are happening, as well as when they are going to be impacting the areas in particular. We'll get into where specifically that's all going to impact a little bit later, but first off, for the latest information, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on channel notifications. That would be greatly appreciated. Give a like on this video to try and help me spread this onto YouTube. That way I can get this information out as much and as quickly as possible. So if you guys would help me out, that would be greatly appreciated. And share this with friends and family and on social media, of course. Here's a take a look at the satellite imagery. You can see across the board here in the United States, we have a lot of cloudiness, actually. Got some scattered showers and thunderstorms up here in portions south of Lake Erie and Ontario, specifically in the northeast. Not exactly the mid-Atlantic, although it's been in and out with some of the clouds, the showers, and thunderstorms for the most part. And so nothing really anticipated as of right now on a severe weather scale up there. We do have a couple severe weather instances over here in Missouri and Kansas. As of right now, we have a little bit of prefrontal convection that's starting to push on through in southern Missouri. A couple special weather statements and even maybe a severe thunderstorm warning is possible with that. And we'll even get into the risks of why that is a little bit later on. And then you also have what's basically going to start firing off this severe weather event. This new developing low pressure system right here at the edge of this boundary. You can kind of see a little bit of the arcing in the clouds. What that is doing is it's basically creating a little bit of a whirlpool effect. So their winds are starting to travel along that bit of a boundary. And eventually what's going to happen is it's going to kind of curl on, create a little bit of a whirlpooling effect and create a counterclockwise motion, ultimately creating a low pressure system that will then form and move on through into the central portions of the United States, which is where your severe weather will most likely be, somewhere in this general vicinity on Sunday. Now, I said we were going to glance over these outlooks real quickly. This is from the Storm Prediction Center, giving an idea as to where severe weather is possible. This is the day one convective outlook here for the 23rd of October in 2021. If you see this light green in this general vicinity, it just means general thunderstorms, not anything too significant. Dark green is a 1 out of 5 in the severe weather scale, and yellow is a 2 out of 5 in the severe weather scale. So if you live over there, then that means that you guys could potentially see some severe weather activity. There is a decent risk for hail in this area, so I would watch out for 1-inch size hail or larger within 25 miles of a point, anywhere in that yellow area, but not really a huge wind risk and not a huge tornado risk either in this event here today. On day two's risk, you can see here that not only do we have a dark green and a yellow, we also have an orange here, which is our enhanced risk. This is a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. And the main reason for this is because of the tornadoes as well as the hurricane force winds. We'll talk about the tornadoes first here. 2% indicated in green, 5% in brown, and 10% in yellow. So whatever probability you have, that is your chance of seeing a tornado within a 25-mile radius. You also have this little dotted line with black circles surrounding the yellow risk, and that is your significant severe risk. A 10% chance or greater probability of seeing an EF2 tornado or stronger within a 25 miles of a point. And then you also have your strong damaging winds that could be in upwards of hurricane force here, located in places like St. Louis, Springfield, and other areas in Missouri. So if you guys are over there, even into Arkansas, highly recommend watching out for the potential of that. The main risk is going to be those two, tornadoes and wind. I can't really expect to see a huge hail risk unless if it's in the beginning of the event to where supercells are expected to form, but otherwise not a huge deal in that front. Day 3 here, this is for Monday. We have a 1 out of 5 in green. We have a 2 out of 5 in yellow, massive 2 out of 5 right here. And this is more or less going to be one of those things where it's going to be a widespread thunderstorm activity. And these little thunderstorms can produce all sorts of things like damaging winds, tornadoes, maybe even hail. But hail, in my opinion, is not really going to be as big of a threat in these two events. So just something to make a note of. If you live in areas like Charlotte, Atlanta, Raleigh, Greensboro, Durham, Charleston, even Roanoke, any of those areas, highly recommend watching out for that. Even Knoxville, Tennessee, I would not be surprised if you guys got some activity in that sense. And then this is Tuesday here. Tuesday, we have a 15% chance for severe weather extending from southern portions of Nebraska all the way down towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if you are in places like central Kansas, like central Oklahoma, and even eastern Oklahoma, highly recommend watching out for severe weather on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have a little bit of severe weather that is expected over here in the deep south for portions of eastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and Alabama, as well as extreme western portions of Florida. So if you guys are in any of those areas that I just called out for, make sure that you are weather aware. Whether you have a weather radio, you turn on the emergency alert system on your phone, stay up to date with the weather besides me, something of the sort for you to stay up to date with all the latest weather information so that you can stay safe from these severe storms. So now we're going to take a look at the weather models, and unfortunately we don't have the timings for you all unless if you want to convert it into Zulu, so you're just going to have to take my word for it as to when these are actually going to be moving through specific areas. But we have a bunch to talk about, so just bear with me here. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. But we're going to take a look at the simulated radar here. The scale is at the top part of your screen to give you an idea as to how heavy the rain could potentially be in specific areas. Here for the Saturday risk, there isn't expected to be a whole lot. Showers and thunderstorms are expected to move on through near Topeka and Kansas City sometime around 8 to 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time, even areas in northeastern to even east central portions of Kansas sometime around that same time frame as well. Even scattered showers and thunderstorms from the warm front is expected to push on through into central portions of Missouri and even into St. Louis towards the overnight hours, past midnight, even around midnight if you're a little bit closer towards the showers and thunderstorms. But still, the main thing here is that it's expected to move on through sometime overnight. Not expected to be a huge risk there. But then as we head on into Sunday here, this is when things start to get interesting. This is 20Z, 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time, and you have a band of showers and thunderstorms that's starting to form somewhere north of Pittsburgh and Joplin and somewhere south of Kansas City. And this is going to be the line to really watch out for, and this is the time frame in which some of these showers and thunderstorms could probably be at its worst. Now, as this progresses here, you can see how this line starts to get larger and larger and longer, and it actually elongates from portions of Illinois. We have one line out in front that extends from Illinois down into central Missouri, and then we have another line that extends from Iowa all the way down through Missouri into Oklahoma. And this will continue to push on through all the way into the latter stages of the evening and even into the overnight hours, especially with showers and thunderstorms approaching St. Louis and Springfield sometime around 7 to 8 Central, and then it'll continue to move on through as a much more congealed line. Now, the big thing here that I want to point out is that the beginner stages of the event, you can see how a lot of these showers and thunderstorms are kind of cut off by some of these little greens, which means that some of the thunderstorm activity could be discrete, meaning that the window of opportunity for tornadoes would have to be in the beginning of the event. So if there's still daylight outside, then know that you're still in the peak of the potential tornado risk. But then once things start to settle down and things start to move into the more overnight hours, starts to become more dark outside, then you can assume that it's going to be a bit more of a damaging wind risk. Do not think that there will be a 0% chance for tornadoes, because tornadoes can still happen with a main damaging wind risk. You can have all sorts of funky stuff that happens, and we even had that about a week and a half ago when we were covering the severe weather event over in Kansas and Oklahoma. So just remember that any severe weather is possible. Any type of severe weather is possible with this event, and you're really going to have to watch out for how this continues to push on through. So Joplin, Springfield, that's probably the area I'm watching out for. Even Fayetteville, Arkansas, that's probably the areas to which you guys could get some severe weather, as well as areas in central Missouri. That will really have to be something to watch out for. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to live stream at least the beginner stages of this event, but stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated with that tomorrow morning. Now let's take a look at the 500 millibar wind shear. This is the mid to upper level portions of the atmosphere. about 6 kilometers above ground level. And as of right now, you can see you have your giant low pressure system that's moving on through with some scattered showers and thunderstorms created by these strong damaging winds over here in the northeast and the mid-Atlantic. But as this continues, this is where the new low pressure system will begin to form. You can see a little bit of this arcing characteristic right here. And usually when that happens, that's when a new low pressure system starts to begin to register. You have that overlapping whirlpool effect where you have the counterclockwise winds in the atmosphere. And so we have decent amounts of wind shear heading up into this event at around 11 a.m. Sunday, as the time says above me in Eastern Daylight Time. And as this continues to move on through into the evening and overnight hours, the wind shear then starts to increase, meaning that once stuff does go into the overnight hours, things will tend to be a little bit stronger in regards to the damaging winds. And even as this continues to move on through into Monday, we even have that severe weather risk on Monday. We have wind shear that starts to amplify, which means that we could have some stronger damaging winds and potentially even a decent tornado threat over there during that time period. So all the more reason for people to watch out. Now, if we take a look at the moisture here, you can see that there is decent amounts of dew points here, heavy amounts of dew points within the warned area. You can see a lot of these yellows and oranges indicating 60 or even 70-degree dew points within some of this general vicinity, and that is enough for severe weather. Anything lower than 60, not exactly too favorable, unless if you have some other contributing factors that could basically make up for the difference. But as of right now, you do have high enough dew points for severe weather, and that does check off the list for the moisture content that could help create showers and thunderstorms. If we take a look at the convective available potential energy, most of you might be wondering, Nate, what the heck is convective available potential energy? What the heck is CAPE? Good question. CAPE is basically the measure of warm air rising and cold air sinking in the atmosphere. So the more the displacement between the two could equate to more CAPE. And the more CAPE you have, the more energy for showers and thunderstorms to form or sustain. In this instance, you want 2,000 joules per kilogram CAPE in order to get that severe weather. And you can see that we have some of these yellows and oranges here indicating 2,000 to even 2,500 joules per kilogram of CAPE in this area of Missouri, Kansas, and maybe even portions of Oklahoma and Arkansas. And this will continue to linger until you start to get towards the late stages of the evening, heading into the overnight hours. And once this happens, this mainly will be the full transition over to your damaging wind risk. Sometime around 7 to 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time is when you can expect things to start to transition to the damaging winds as the main priority. That'll be the main damaging threat from this severe weather event. But prior to 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time, that will be still a tornado risk. So definitely something to keep in mind if you are in those areas. So now we're going to combine everything that we just talked about. We talked about CAPE, we talked about 500 millibar wind shear. We didn't talk about 850 millibar wind shear or 10 meter above ground level wind shear. But basically, it's just different levels of the atmosphere. 850 millibar wind shear is about 3 kilometers above ground level, and then 10 meters is about 30 feet above ground level. So that's just one of those things where it helps us determine as to whether or not it is favorable for supercells to develop. And typically what you want to happen is you want the 10 meter above ground level winds to come out from the south. You want the 850 millibar wind shear to come out generally right next to it from the south and west. And then you want your 500 millibar wind shear to come out a little bit further from the west in that. So it should have one of those things to where the red would be something like this, the blues would look something like this, and then the blacks would look something like this. So whenever you see something like that, just know that it's favorable for supercells. Now, if you want a full explanation as to why that happens, there's a video that I did on Friday a couple weeks ago, and I'll link that video in the description down below if you want a more detailed explanation as to why we look out for that. But in this instance, you're just going to have to trust me here. So we have our crossovers of the wind here. We also have our CAPE, which is indicated within the shaded amounts. And we have decent amounts of CAPE over here in portions of central Missouri, as well as extending down into southwestern Missouri. And so basically this general area right here, along this entire general vicinity, areas near I-70 and I-44, as well as areas in between those areas and I-49, you can expect that's where severe weather is going to be at its worst in Missouri, especially areas around Joplin, Springfield, heading up to Columbia, Jefferson City, even all the way over towards St. Louis. Would not be surprised if you guys had that activity, because you do have the heavy amounts of energy and you do have favorable wind patterns. So if there is showers and thunderstorms that move off into your general area, don't be surprised if it is favorable for supercells that could potentially produce damaging winds, large hail, and potentially even tornadoes. So now if we transition back to the simulated radar, you can see here sometime around 7 Central, we have 2 assortments of lines that are moving on through Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, as well as some scattered showers and thunderstorms across portions of Illinois and Indiana. And that'll continue to push on through even into the early morning hours as one giant elongated line. But eventually that line will start to break up sometime around 8 in the morning, and then it'll pick back up again sometime in the afternoon and even into the evening. You can see how we have this new line that'll begin to form somewhere from Cincinnati all the way down into Kentucky, and then we also have an assortment of scattered showers and thunderstorms that'll begin to form on a widespread basis, and this will continue to move on through even into the late stages of the evening, into the overnight hours, as a just general scattered event of potential damaging winds, decent sized hail, and the threat of tornadoes. So now let's backtrack again. Let's go back to the 500 millibar wind shear, and you can see here this is on Tuesday morning. We have our low pressure system that caused the severe weather originally on Sunday and Monday that is just pushing on through. It's now in the portions of the Great Lakes heading off towards the northeast. And now we have a new low pressure system that's forming, or it has already formed at this point. And it's going to be moving on through into portions of the Rockies, and this will continue to move about. Now, what's happening here is that if we actually move back just a smidge, you can see a little bit of a system down at the bottom of your screen, just barely. You can see some blues and greens down here. And what this is, believe it or not, is this is actually a hurricane that's going to be making landfall over there in Mexico. And that eventually will move off into the general vicinity of Texas and the deep south. And this will basically attract this other low pressure system to move closer to it. It'll keep its trajectory of moving to the south and east, and essentially that will bring severe weather to the deep south. So let's look at that again here. You can see the low pressure system, the hurricane that's now no longer a hurricane at this point, move on through. This other low pressure system will continue to move about, and it'll move down into the southern plains. This is by the afternoon hours and the evening hours of Tuesday, and this will basically affect portions of the plains. It'll actually extend all the way up into the central and even almost northern plains in this general area here for Tuesday. But you can see how this low pressure system right here, and then the remnants of the hurricane, which is over here in Texas, and this will basically attract each other. It's almost like a magnet attracting together with each other. That's basically what's going to happen here in this instance. And so that's the reason why this low pressure system will continue to move on through further and further to the south and east. So let's continue to watch out for this. Of course, high amounts of wind shears expected with this new low pressure system, and it only gets a little bit worse, just about the same, but maybe a little bit worse over as it continues to head off into Wednesday for the severe weather event that is expected into the portions of the deep south. So definitely something to watch out for. And then even after this, you can see this massive ridge that's starting to build right within here, and a massive high pressure system that'll begin to move on through. Typically with these patterns here, where you have massive ridges followed by this high pressure that is south of it, that's when you can start to consider severe weather to be in an active pattern. And even after this, I can start to anticipate potentially even more shots of severe weather. Maybe not as significant as this, but still instances of severe weather is possible even after this as we head into portions of Halloween and even into November. Now, if we go over to the dew points now, all right, this is on Tuesday. You can see the time above. It's actually Monday night into Tuesday. And you can see how the moisture then starts to return, more and more moisture, and it extends all the way up into Nebraska. And here we are at midnight on Tuesday. Look at how expansive the moisture actually is. All the way from Del Rio, Texas, moving on through towards Wichita Falls, all the way up further and further towards Dodge City, and even higher towards places like Goodland, Kansas, and even Hastings, Nebraska. And this is how expansive the severe weather risk could potentially be here for this day. Now, the good news is that the dew points aren't exactly as high as on Sunday, with dew points only expected to get up to the 60s, low to mid 60s for the most part. But we can expect things to change there afterwards. So you can see, according to this model run here from the Euro, there actually is a pretty big severe weather event that happens over in Texas, and that'll continue to push on through. Maybe even some severe weather that happens over in Oklahoma still. But then setting up for Wednesday, look at this. Massive amounts of moisture here set up into portions of Louisiana and Arkansas, as well as extreme eastern portions of Texas. And this will set up for some more severe weather to continue to move about, and maybe even set up for another severe weather event on Thursday, somewhere into portions of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. So definitely something to watch out for, how that will continue to progress. We're still a little bit far away as to where specifically things will actually happen and how significant they will be, but the conditions for this event still are looking rather concerning for another severe weather event after Sunday. Now, one thing that we can use here as we end this video off on a high note is we can use something called the instantaneous flash rate. And what this can do is this basically tells me how many lightning flashes there are within a 3-hour average. This can help me determine as to where the showers and thunderstorms could potentially be, to help me get a general idea as to who could potentially be impacted. So let's take a look here. Of course, the scale is at the bottom part of your screen, and yes, those numbers are lightning flashes within 3 hours, so keep an open mind there, especially with that max number right there. That could tell you how many lightning flashes are within a specific time frame. So let's take a look here, and already on Tuesday afternoon into the evening, a widespread amount of lightning strikes is possible here within this general area, heading off further into the overnight hours and even into the midnight hours. Look at how many showers and thunderstorms that shower off across the plains here, even into portions of Nebraska. But look at these purples and whites. Over 2,500 lightning strikes within a 3-hour average is possible here within this model run. And even as this continues, we're heading into Wednesday now, and look at this. Look at how widespread these lightning strikes are over across one state. This is Louisiana right here, and we have a crap ton of lightning strikes within this general area, in upwards of 500, even to 1,500 within a specific spot over 3 hours. And so this is definitely something that we're going to have to watch out for. There's definitely going to be a lot of showers and thunderstorms within this general vicinity, and we're going to want to continue to see how these models play out the system. And if it plays out for the better, then hopefully it won't impact as many people. If it does end up uptrending and become worse, I'll be the first one to tell you on this channel. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the latest content that I'll provide, as well as share this with friends and family and on social media. Try and get the information out as much as possible. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment down below, or the comments down below, because I'm assuming a lot of you will comment. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. I will update you guys as to when I will live stream, or potentially if I'll live stream tomorrow morning. It's a bit of a conflicting schedule that I'll have for tomorrow, so we'll have to see as to how things will play out. Now, for my members, you guys probably have noticed that I haven't posted my podcast yet, my second episode of the podcast yet. That will be uploaded a lot later tonight, extreme portions of tonight. So just hang on for a second, hold on there. Got a couple things that I need to do. Schedule's been conflicting for the past 5 days, and so I'm trying to fit something in. And then for the members who are not members, I should say, for just the general audience, you'll have episode 1 of Into the Storm Cellar podcast uploaded tonight as well. As I said, thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you guys in the next video, so peace out, everyone.